everyone. Hi. Happy Friday. Nice to see you. Yes, you. I see you. Thanks for checking out this video today. If you are new to my channel here, my name is Audrey. I'm a psychic medium. I talk about crime cases, missing people, mysteries, and that kind of stuff here on this channel. I have a second channel that's just vlogging behind the scenes with me, hanging out. I do have Instagram, and I have a book for sale. It's all about living with loss. So losing people and pets that you love and how to cope. It is possible. All right, so I'm gonna try and make this as simple as I can. I've been watching for 2 days, hours and hours of court for Brian Kohberger, his murder trial, as well as other YouTubers and their breakdown of what's happening in court. I think it can be condensed into easily 15 minutes. So I'm going to try my best to get that to you so you know what's going on, what is up to date. Okay. So I'm talking about Brian Kohberger. He's been accused of killing 4 college students in Idaho in 2022. Awful, awful case, massacre. I don't want to get into any of that. Most of us do know what has happened in that case. I have plenty of old videos. If you look in my playlist under my channel here, if you want to go back and rewatch some of those videos. So today I'm going to bring you some actual things that were said in court. It's not my opinion. It's actually things I heard and saw online. I'm just going to bring that to you. I see a lot of people's comments are, hey, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have time to sit here and listen and start looking up what stuff means because I don't understand what they're saying in the courtroom. Like, what is this? What is that? I don't know. I'm going to give it to you, the important ones. Okay, so let's get started with the IGG. This court hearing yesterday and today is a motions hearing because Brian Kohberger and his attorneys want, honestly, most of the evidence thrown out. Yes, they want most of the evidence in the case to be thrown out because they say he's innocent. Okay, and in regards to one thing that they want thrown out, big time, this is like the biggest thing that they want thrown out, is the IGG report. What's an IGG? The IGG is something relatively new in science here, in criminal science. It stands for Investigative Genetic Genealogy. The defense is saying he did not give authorization. Brian did not give authorization to have his Fourth Amendment violated. What? What are you talking about? Well, the defense is saying it was a violation of his Fourth Amendment for federal and local teams to collect the data. The data is available online. I mean, if you've done an Ancestry or which one did I do? Any of those DNA tests where you put your saliva in and they test it to see who you are, who you're related to, and all that jazz. My daughter's highly against this because she says once you give your sample, it's open to everyone. Anyone has access to it. So they are saying that was a violation. And let me read to you what the Fourth Amendment is. All right, so let me read to you from Google what the Fourth Amendment of the United States says. It protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. That's it. So the defense is claiming this was unconstitutional, and as an American, he has the right to have that evidence thrown out because that is the direct evidence that shows his DNA on the sheath, on the knife sheath little button. There's like a little snap button on the sheath of the knife that had DNA related to Kohberger. It was actually related to the father's DNA more specifically. And it basically said the DNA belongs to any offspring, if you will, of Mr. Daddy Kohberger. They want that thrown out. Also, the defense wants a Franks hearing. Let me tell you what a Franks hearing is. Let's bring it up over here. Okay. A Franks hearing is a legal proceeding in a criminal case where a defendant challenges the accuracy of information provided by police in a search warrant affidavit, essentially attempting to prove that the police officer knowingly made false statements or omissions to obtain the warrant, allowing the defendant to potentially suppress evidence obtained from the search. And it's called the Franks case because it's from a case, Franks versus Delaware, where this legal concept was established. So the defense is basically calling the police liars, cheaters, not doing their job. That's a problem. That's a huge accusation, which I did see some of the investigators on the stand. They're like, no, this is what happened and that's what happened. This is how we do it every time. And I was interested to find out that I guess this is a thing where they collect evidence and then they get the search warrant so that they can submit the evidence. They said one of the warrants didn't have the date of the crime on the paper itself. The documentation, the form that was filled out, did not have the date of the crime that they're accusing Brian of, and so therefore they want that one thrown out. And apparently there were over 100 warrants done in this case, and they're finding a problem with every single one. They're saying every single thing, every single person who has gathered information or works for the government in a police or investigative kind of place, that they're all crooks. They're all liars. They did not do their job. They're out to get Brian. They want to hang him. They've said he's guilty from the beginning. Yeah, because they've seen the evidence. I mean, they're not sitting in the stand saying, hey, this guy's guilty. They're saying, we got the information just like we would anybody else. Anyone else. These hearings, my opinion is, from what I gather, is this is establishing basically a nice, clean, straight line down the road for when the trial itself happens. So that way you're cleaning up the streets of this road that we're traveling on and picking up the garbage that's out in the street. So they want everything clean and tidy so that when the trial starts, there's not going to be any of this junk floating around and they have to stop the trial to deal with these administrative or other problems. So they are preparing for trial. There has not been a decision on the Franks hearing. The judge has not ruled on that as of yet, and court is over. It ended a couple hours ago. They're not on the East Coast. I think they're an hour or two ahead of me here in California. One thing, Ann Taylor, Brian's one of his attorneys, is complaining that everything's secret. The state has all these secrets. Well, then she starts talking about a confidential. Anne is telling people she has a confidential informant no one knew about. Well, that's a secret, isn't it? So you can kind of say, yeah, these kind of secret things need to happen to collect data. It's not that it's illegal. It's not illegal. As far as I can tell, the state hasn't done anything illegal. They're treating this just like they would any other case. Yes, it's a high profile. Yes, it's probably, I don't want to say more serious than other murders, but it's definitely more complicated than most things we see in the courtroom. So a lot of search warrants were sought after. the Apple, the AT&T, just the normal stuff. There was nothing sneaky about it, in my opinion. They're just trying to get down to the person who's guilty. They collect the evidence. The jury gets to decide who's guilty or not. And I do have to say, I'm pretty happy with this judge. He doesn't let Anne get away with anything, or her team of attorneys. He calls on their BS. And just as well as the state side, he doesn't let them get away with anything, and he does set them straight as well. None of it's done in a mean way. It's very professional, and he's calm, and he's saying, well, this is that for everybody. And one thing I found interesting was when Anne was standing up talking, Anne Taylor, the judge said very calmly, he goes, one thing I do have a problem with is you're trying to get me to make a rule how to have the state talk. We don't do that. So Anne is trying to control what the state prosecutors can say, what they cannot say, how they can say it. It's very clear desperation is kicking into the Brian Kohberger side of things. And I will say, he looks thin to me. He looks very, very thin. Let me roll a quick, 30 seconds here for you so you can see what I'm talking about.
Court today for day 2 of his all-important motions hearing. His defense lawyers are asking the judge to throw out most of the evidence in the case because they say it all hinges on an unconstitutional genetic investigation process. Kohberger's lawyers also argue that the search warrants were tainted by police misconduct.
When Idaho State Police Forensics Lab, through Moscow Police Department, moved a DNA sample to Othram Laboratories to develop a profile to run through genetic genealogy investigations. There was no warrant for that search for a SNP profile that could be used to attempt to identify somebody. The next stage would be when that was transferred to the FBI for their forensic investigative genetic genealogy work to try to identify somebody. No warrant was in place for that work.
Okay, so you can see Brian in there. He looks pretty thin. Who knows, I'm sure he's not having a good time where he's living right now. So people do seem to change over time. He's been there for 2 years. So at some point it's going to start affecting what he looks like and stuff. So that's part of the penalty, I guess, of being a criminal, being a murder suspect in this day and age. So that's what I have for you guys today. It's not as complicated as you think, but you don't really know that unless you watch all the hours and hours and hours of video. So hopefully I answered your questions in this case. And I'll see you guys soon with the next one. Have a super great weekend. I'll see you soon.